Hi, welcome in our daily lesson with a workbook of A Course in Miracles. I'm just gonna leave the music a little bit in the background and express here my gratitude for coming here together with you and you being here with me in this practice of lesson 14. And Jesus gives us here a quite revolutionary idea on the way in our daily affairs. God did not create a meaningless world. Well, who thought that? If God did not create a meaningless world, then who did? And those are really questions we had to face. And only the mind, once it is ready by experience, right? A mind made ready through and by experience will come to immediately, yeah, have a good laughter, because everyone who had an experience of singular mind knows the causation of one's own mind and doesn't believe anymore nor can really successfully project outside himself the cause of the world he sees. And that takes care of everything. It is amazing that we can be believers, we can adore God, we can pray to God, we can make thousands of rituals and still believe that God made up disaster, sickness, people being prosecuted and killed, and you know any idea of loss, any idea of death, and then at the end turn against him and say, well, now I'm not going to have anything to do with you anymore, God, because I'm just in pain and suffering all the time. And it is a really small step to come to that recognition of seeing, oh my God, this is my dream, this is my hallucination, this is what I'm making up. This has nothing to do with my creator. God doesn't even know anything of that. And since we are in the sequence of lessons of those first 2 weeks right now that teach us very strictly every day the meaninglessness of our thoughts, of ourself, and of course of everything that we see around us and in the world. And that meaninglessness is seen as the world and then of course projected unto God. But who would really want to have a meaningless God? And nobody is really putting that question in front of himself. But you know, once you know, and you know that you know, and you know also that the truth has nothing to do with what we see with our eyes in that projection of past thoughts. And that is, if we're gonna look at what are those lessons that we are in. And like for myself, I saw that the first 10 days were lessons where Jesus was teaching us very clearly what our thoughts are, and he was very clearly showing us that meaninglessness, that non-existence, that they are not there, that projection, that judgments are involved in it, anything but the truth, justifications, and replacing the truth with illusions of our own making. And now from lesson 11 on till lesson 16, more or less, he's talking about that action of mind and what our thoughts are actually showing us, and what they produce, what they reflect, what is made up, what becomes a conscious awareness for us. And so there's something arising in our mind, right? And that what we see, we call the word. It's a making up, not a creation. If we, the moment we go back and return to creation, then we're talking about creation. We are no longer looking at making up. And that is also, we are no longer into a dreaming, a making up of illusions in our mind. And that is where we want to get in this, with these lessons, in this mind training sequence using A Course in Miracles. And so what's showing us our meaningless thoughts is exactly that meaningless world of our own making, right? And of course, that is upsetting us and it engenders fear. And so today, Jesus goes along and lets us admit that all that we suffered and all the pain that we experienced through disaster and whatever idea we could imagine that separates us from our source is really just an effect of our own insane thoughts. And we do have that power of decision. We do have that power in our mind to align our mind to the truth, which is and has to be to free God from making up that meaningless world. So if you feel motivated with those ideas, so please stick here with me for a moment. And we are here on Spreaker.com, right, live. And it is lesson 14 today, in the voice from heaven, in that voice that is showing us that we are actually really no longer listening to the ego's voice, and therefore we are on the way home, and it is already reflecting the freedom of our mind, the freedom of ourself, because we were created free. So I'll be right back. Thank you.